I'm Meira Smit. I use she, her pronouns. I am a senior at Macalester College, and I grew up on a farm, a sheep farm in Wisconsin, and now I'm an urban farmer. And I've been managing a garden at Macalester College for the last year, growing from seed in the greenhouse to harvest this fall.
Amazing. So what does that process look like, seeing it all the way through?
It's my first time doing a full growing season. I observed my mom and helped her out reluctantly most of the time when I was growing up, but I think through different factors and my location in the Twin Cities, which is a bustling and bubbling urban agriculture hub, I've been so grateful to have the opportunity to utilize the greenhouse at Macalester and find the seeds I need and get funding and some mentorship, but mostly a lot of freedom to make my own decisions and plan out the whole garden process. So I thought I love the stages of intense work and that simmer into more slower parts of the season. So March and February were a lot of seeding every single day, but it's so meditative and repetitive that I really enjoyed just being able to mix up my own soil and find the seeds. All the way from just choosing the seeds was such a lovely process, and then May and June were super busy and putting everything in the ground and making sure we had all the right resources at the time of planting. And then I couldn't really perceive it happening, although I had planned that it would simmer down, and it did in July, and I was able to leave for a few weeks and then come back through August and really do the harvesting and the community engagement of bringing people into that space and being able to share all this lovely abundance that has come about. And now the process and the work with that garden is a lot more dispersed and gentler, but on the body and such. But I'm mostly collecting seeds a lot and really thinking about what next year is going to be like, and building out my seed catalog that I've collected and trying to take notes, but trying to just remember what notes I wanted to take, and then freezing stuff and processing and pulling things out and putting in compost and planting the garlic and such.
Amazing. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about what resources really help you and what resources you wish you could have?
I think my position as growing up in a rural place and having a lot of family members and visiting rural farms a lot has enabled me to source compost and mulch and from animal farms and hay bales and seeds just out in the rural parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin. What I think is interesting, Macalester has a budget for the garden, and they have built up the resources to support students leadership and such. But I was in the kind of air and theme of sustainability, which is the office I work in. We don't need money for these resources. They're waste products to some people, and they're piling up in the edges of these farms that I'm just at. And I'm trying to think of what a highly resourced space looks like when these things are in full abundance. But my experience the year before with Urban Farm Garden Alliance, which is in Rondo neighborhood, we were very under-resourced in terms of money, and I don't know if I had the connections yet to be resourceful in getting compost and mulch. So I think this year I'm learning about what it's like to be sustainable or to be resourceful in a highly funded space, but also what it means to be resourceful in I need to have networks and be very wealthy in connections and communications. So a lot of that has just looked like me in my car hauling manure across state lines, or stacking my car full of hay bales, or getting wood for my dad. And yeah, I'm like negotiating what is giving all of that to an institution which has money, and more building up my skills to how we build those networks in just effortlessly.
Amazing. What is one takeaway you want people to have from the information you've learned through your work?
A takeaway is we need to be more connected. I think that's our most vital resource. There's the more people we know and the more questions and like requests we have of each other. Like once we have those connections, that's one thing, but like our trust and our ability to ask for things is also like a huge resource, because you never know, like someone may have an extra wheelbarrow or extra shovel or some of these things that are kind of just floating around that aren't being used. I'm uncertain if that's like just a factor of like people have always been sourcing things from their community, but this money is coming in, and how do we use that money for infrastructural builds and like paying people more and creating some longer lasting things, but also our connections are our most vital resource.
Amazing, thank you. Is there anything last that you would like to share?
I think institutions also, they're a huge connection. Universities and public resource institutions and banks and all of these money funneling projects that have a lot of values of community engagement. What I've seen is that a lot of them don't quite know how to be as engaged as they say or want to be. So that takes some of the middle people who maybe are doing the work and don't have the capacity to go search for those connections. And there's also people in the institution that are always busy, myself one of them, or like constantly bombarded with different projects. But I think the weavers and the braiders who are able to connect those intentions and those values is super important.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.